Alright, welcome back to BibleCraft, episode number 6, I think is what it is. Yeah, we're on episode number 6.
Wow,
The gang's all
that's fast.
here with me, and Nolan, and
Yeah,
Ben,
we're
and
here.
Joe. We're all back.
we're finally all together again, and I think they're on a mission to save me right now. I did some really stupid things off camera.
Nolan fell into
Yeah,
the
there
deep
is,
dark
yeah.
and triggered a warden, so we are on our way to find him. What are your cords at now?
Oh gosh. My cord's -151 3357.
3357.
That's my little escape cave that I started digging.
Okay.
You're gonna be
It's out there prowling somewhere. But I think I was able to escape.
Nice.
I'm sneaking around. I've heard the warden walking around a little bit. It hasn't been able to sniff me out yet, and I've been quiet enough where I think I outsnuck it. So
Oh, I found a cave here. Yeah, all of a sudden we all got a panicked text in our Discord last night. I triggered the warden. Oh, I see the deep dark.
Oh, hang on, Jacob. We hit another tunnel here.
Yeah, I'm in.
So this
I'm
must
right
have
here.
been where he came in. Okay.
I'm trying to see. Alright, we are in the deep dark. I see wool. I see iron, but I'm not going to mine it. Could I have a
all right, if you're there, hang on.
No!
Praise the Lord. Okay, it's around here somewhere.
We're not here to hunt the warden, guys. We're here to get Nolan and leave.
I have an idea.
Oh no. Why am I here?
Actually,
There's actually like no shriekers
good?
around here.
there are some right over there, so be careful.
I needed some levels.
Don't break them! Stop breaking them! Stop breaking them!
Oh, I
Oh.
didn't bring a hoe, so I can't do like
I
the
heard
quick
something.
mining. Actually, you don't hear it anywhere.
I think that was just a shrieker thing. I don't know, whatever those blocks that make the noise are.
Yeah. Now
I
that we're
don't get
3,000 blocks away from home, might as well go trigger one before leaving.
Oh boy.
Here it
Very-
comes!
Are you serious?
Yep!
Back up the tunnel. I'm not dying here.
Are you talking warden, or did the warden itself summon in?
I mean, I went blind. Doesn't that mean it spawned in? Or no? No, I never actually heard it. I went blind though.
Bye, boys.
It's shrieking.
Oh, jeez, he's on the fire.
Warden advances.
I'm watching.
I'm trying to read the subtitles.
Oh, that's because the one that says warden advances that means it's tunneling to you. It won't spawn until the third shrieker activation.
It says warden draws close.
Is there any loot down here to make this whole trip worth it?
No.
Hey, Ben,
and
what if I-
spawning. And spawning.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Well, we got our warden slating. Now time to get Nolan out here. Get back home. Ah!
Me!
Run, you fools. Nolan, have you ever, or Ben, have you ever seen the warden before?
No, Ben!
Yes, I have. I don't know if naturally in a world, but I've seen plenty of pictures of them.
Yeah.
I've watched it kill both you and him on the other night.
That was a
couple
solid,
times.
that was a good stream.
You can see it
Where
from
are
Jacob's
we?
end.
I don't know where we are.
We're in Nolan's tunnel, Jacob. This is not a good idea.
That's a good point.
I
Nolan,
Don't
lead the
trust
way out
his
of
tunnel.
here.
I'm going back.
This tunnel's actually how I was getting out.
And I'm taking, yeah, that's why I'm not trusting it. I'm taking the one that Jacob and me dug to get down here.
Hmm.
Does mean some sidetracking, but it should be okay.
I'll come back up to you then. But yeah, so anyways, welcome back to BibleCraft, episode 6. Now that we've saved Private Nolan.
Yeah.
Happy
It
Holy
was-
Week, all of y'all.
Found it.
Which means that this is going to be the only stream of the week.
Hey, why are we going back toward the deep dark area?
To get
Because
up.
there's a better staircase out this way.
Yeah, that goes straight up.
Ben, stop trying to wall me in. Good lord.
I'm not. I have to
Yeah,
build
that
up
one we had to
so we
staircase
can
up
into
a
your
little
tunnel.
But yeah, so this is the only stream of the week, and so we figured we'd do some BibleCraft, especially since we could all get on tonight. But yeah, so I hope. Oh, I still hear the warden. I don't see Nolan's name tag. Okay, no, he's climbing. We should be good. Yeah, I could hear the warden's heartbeats. That was kind of creepy.
Hear it making its little I can hear it making its little sniffs.
Yeah.
It's trying to sniff us out.
We're nowhere near it anymore, though.
Yeah, no. Ben and I are far and away.
It just despawned.
Okay, good.
I could hear it crawl back underground.
Nice.
Alright.
Does that mean we go? That means we go back, right?
No, that means we
No,
leave.
it's time to go home.
Okay, I'm trying to remember how I got.
Jacob,
yeah,
why don't you place torches anywhere?
Well, we have Lunar Client. There's no need for torches anymore.
I've ascended the need
cheating.
for torches. Okay, I don't remember where I went from here.
Oh gosh.
Hey, I got us down there though. Yeah, no, because it was definitely back this way. I definitely had to run over these stalagmites. Oh yeah, where Nolan's at? I think that's Nolan. Yeah. That should
It's
get
the
us
warden. Ah.
Ah.
Sometime I gotta go back with a silk touch hoe and pick up a bunch of shriekers and summoners so I can summon the warden on your house.
No, please. Oh, here.
I think I can do
Here it
that
is.
in theory.
Um,
Wait, chat.
oh,
Chat, can we do that? Is that?
Whoa! Would you look at that time?
Whoa.
Would you look at that time lapse?
We did a live
Instead of-
time lapse.
Instead of running for 15 minutes
Oh,
to the back
whoa.
base area, we're back in my room enjoying a
Where's
meeting.
Joe?
I need to go find Joe. Where is Joe?
Is there still a fish in your elevator?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Nolan. Very cool.
Alright, where
He
is
deserves to live
Joe?
there. Joe, where are you?
I'm at near my house.
He's
Also,
probably-
Jake, since we started putting villagers in this area is now not raid proof anymore.
Oh, really?
oh yeah, that happened like the other night.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
Don't blame me. I saw pillagers. I killed pillagers.
Ben
Oh, did
killed
you
the
trigger
villagers.
Did it trigger a raid?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
triggered a raid on my
Oh,
house.
gosh. That's so
We dealt with
funny.
it just fine. Zero issues.
That's beautiful.
Actually, the fence in the chunk mine ended up working pretty well for it.
I'm trying to remember what fence you're even referencing at this point.
The
Are you
fence
able
is the one along the one on the side of the road.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for letting me know, Alex. He said to adjust audio levels. He
Nope.
said Nolan was loud and I'm quiet. So let's try that. That's helpful
That's
because I
pretty
usually
simple.
can't actually see what's going on over there. But yeah, so we're back with BibleCraft once again. It is Holy Week, which means that it is the week of Easter, which is a good time for all of us, which means that this is our only stream of the week. So if you're here, thanks for joining. If you're watching the VOD, thanks for watching the VOD. I feel like the VODs have been doing really well, especially for BibleCraft, which is kind of caught me
Surprisingly.
off guard. I honestly thought that all the Fortnite stuff was going to do a lot better because that's like what's trendy right now.
The market is saturated.
That's also very true.
That's
There's
my
a lot
opinion.
of people playing Fortnite, and so, but yeah,
And only so many people who care about it.
obviously. I'm trying to find. Oh, wait, is that a Joe? That is a Joe I see.
Joe.
Joe, are you finally moving out of the cave?
It's
I am. I'm gonna actually get a house built.
Wow.
the elusive
nice.
Joe. Do 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 do.
It's
Where
a
at, Joe?
Jurassic Park over here. It's right on top of his old place.
Oh, nice. So he's building there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
Good
fine.
stuff.
Cool. All right, I'm actually going to go back to working on my little lake now. Alex, if you're still here and I think it's updated now, let me know how that audio sounds. Because again, I could check it loosely on my end, but I can't actually hear how it sounds. But yeah, so our topic for tonight is pretty much if you guys have any questions about Easter or anything pertaining to that, let us know. Because obviously that's current and topical, because that's this week. But otherwise, we're just kind of going to hang out and have some general discussion about... Is that Jurassic Park I hear in the background?
On a recorder, I'm pretty sure. Thanks, Ben.
I have a simple sense of humor.
It's very quiet in the background, but I do hear it. That's beautiful.
Anyway, what are we going to talk about?
Everyone
Easter,
is
Holy
even,
Week.
but you're still a little low.
So this is
Chicken,
an
just try
interesting
turning
thing.
us both
Did you
up.
guys see? Did you guys actually? I
There we
was doing
go.
some research for content tonight.
Boy,
I discovered this
think that's
from
better.
Elevation Church with Stephen Furtick. If you guys know who
I already
Stephen
hate
Furtick
it.
is.
Oh,
I
I did
already
hear
hate
about
it.
this.
And you're not
I don't know what it is.
you're not being fair to hate it without hearing it out. You should
Yep.
at least hear out what Stephen Furtick did that was stupid before you snap to judge it.
Obviously.
No,
Yeah.
I recognize this pattern.
I'm not
but
saying
Nope.
that you're. I
Tell
will
me,
say
tell
you're
me,
100.
tell me.
I
Tell me.
will say you're 100% right about this specific case. But hear him out. Hear the man out. Let Stephen Furtick make his case.
I was going to
Alright,
say,
I'll
we
let
have to
Stephen
listen
Furtick
before we
speak.
can judge.
The case made by Stephen Furtick at Elevation Church on their social media. I don't know if it was Stephen Furtick or whatever social media intern decided to make this call. Oh, the Minecraft music just turned on. It distracted me. I forgot I usually turn that off for the stream.
Focus, Nolan, focus.
Sorry, I'm ADHD.
Focus. Discipline.
Which actually helps me connect with some of my youth group students.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Relatable.
But so Stephen Furtick, Elevation Church, put out a thing this week saying something along the lines of, we're avoiding using like words like cross or blood. They're not going to talk about blood. They're not going to talk about the cross. They're not going to talk about anything that would frighten or scare away new believers because, quote, Easter is a good time to invite friends and family to church, and you don't want to use like frightening language that would scare people away.
So,
And yeah, again, kind of a bad take.
is that worth discussing? Do we dignify that with a...
I will say, I
Discussion?
think Nolan took it a little further than the actual intent. I'm not agreeing with it. But I do think it's an interesting idea about, and it's more about the discussion behind Christianese. Because it was more about, it wasn't that they weren't going to say cross or that he died or any of that. But, and I'm not saying I agree with it. I want to make sure that's very clear. But what he was saying, and I don't know if it was actually Stephen Furtick himself who said it or not. I can't remember. But the basic gist wasn't so much about not saying cross, but it was about not saying like the blood of Jesus or any like churchy terms, not because of the fact that we want to make it I'm trying to think of how to say it, because he wants to make it so that people can come to church and understand it without having to have all the years of understanding behind it.
It doesn't take more than 5 minutes to understand the concept of the substitutionary sacrifice. If he's actually a good preacher, he ought to be able to explain why Jesus' blood matters without it seeming weird. I
Well,
have zero patience for that.
I was gonna say, I'm not saying that that's what it is.
Saying that you aren't going to preach about the virgin birth at Christmas because some people don't like the idea of childbirth.
Well, no, that's not what it is at all, Ben. It's not that they're not preaching that that's the truth. They're trying to preach in seeker available terminology.
No, they're
Yeah,
trying
I know.
to be seeker friendly. They're trying. Okay. Finish.
I was gonna say, I don't agree with it, but I see where they're coming from, and especially for a church like that is obviously not
Bad.
as Ben.
My blood is up.
I could tell. I don't necessarily. I want to make it very clear. I don't agree with it, but I understand where they're coming from, and I don't necessarily disagree with the idea behind it. I disagree with the execution. But if you only have an hour for a church service, especially on a time when you have people coming in, and this is even something, it's basically preaching it at a youth group, at a basic youth group level, so that people can actually understand what you're saying and not get caught up on not understanding the words behind it. And so again, I'm not saying I agree with taking those terminology out, because I do feel like most people at this point understand it already, but I don't disagree with the idea.
The idea of a blood sacrifice is not a difficult concept. People aren't that stupid.
Well,
That is treating your audience like they are 4-year-olds.
Which he, I think, also does.
Yeah, he definitely does that.
That's not the point.
Because again, it is definitely more of a seeker church, and that's the natural church for the mega church model, is not growth but quantity. And so if you're going
my
for
feelings on that to begin with.
no,
so.
I know. And that's also an area that we both disagree in as well. And so I'll admit I'm probably the one who's going to be most prone to not angrily attacking him over it because of part of my background in understanding that model. But what do I hear below me?
Doesn't matter how many people are sitting in the pews if they don't know why they're sitting in the pews.
Yeah, but you can't have people sitting in a pew if they don't understand the words being used.
The words, though, aren't complicated. The idea of Jesus died on a cross because death was required to pay the price for your sin. That is first grade comprehension level.
Let me look up the exact quote.
I don't want to misrepresent. I don't want to misrepresent Jesus, bro, any more than I already have.
All right, let's see here. Because again, I'm not saying I agree with it, but okay, I found the quote. It says, and it wasn't Stephen Furtick either. It was Nikki Shearer, their digital content director.
Oh, so it was it still Elevation Church?
Yeah, it was still Elevation, but it says they recently spoke to Pro Church Tools, which is a website about digital churching, obviously, so like for social media, about the way the church uses social media to draw and engage with new and familiar audiences. During part of that interview, Shearer explained that the church avoids using language that immediately makes someone feel like an outsider, particularly for an event like Easter Sunday. And this is the direct quote. When I think about how I'm going to talk about Easter, I'm thinking about how I'm going to talk to people far from about God, because that's the thing that matters most to us. For us, the most important thing on Easter is inviting people to church. This means reaching people far from God, so we're not going to use the words Calvary, resurrection, or the phrase the blood of Jesus. We won't use language that will immediately make someone feel like an outsider. And so obviously the article I'm reading goes on to say that it blew up because it was people saying that it waters down Christianity, and a lot of the arguments are the ones that you've already said. And again, not that I disagree with it either.
You're not going to talk about the resurrection on Easter?
It's not saying that they aren't talking about the resurrection.
That's like not talking about Santa Claus on Christmas.
They're saying they're not using that term on the invitations. And so I don't think it's necessarily focused on the... They're saying they're not going to post that on their social media. They're saying they're not posting it in places where they're trying to get people in the door. They'll use those terms and those topics in the sermon itself, because obviously they're talking about Easter. But they're trying to make sure that people can make it to the door without instantly feeling like an outsider. Because no one, I think, and this is a bad analogy, but the vibe that they're going for is you don't want to feel like the guy walking into a small town bar where everyone looks at you because you don't know what's going on. And so again, I think it was a very poorly worded thing. And again, I'm not sure if I agree with not using those terminology, but knowing their method of ministry behind it, I don't necessarily disagree with how it played out. Because of the fact of the matter is, if you want people to come in the door who haven't heard it before, and part of that also goes back to the debate between Calvinism, Arminianism, free will, all that.
How did churches function for the last 2,000 years while not doing stuff like that?
Because we're in a post-Christian society.
What about the church before it was a post-Christian society?
Have you seen how people treated the people who they thought were drinking each other's blood? And so that's what they're trying to prevent, is people thinking that they're weird because of terminology used on their social media.
The fact that it's just a social media page, that's a little more calming. I still... And
again, part of that also goes back to the natural disagreement with mega churches go for quantity over quality a lot of the time because of the fact that they're just trying to reach as many people as possible. And then a healthy megachurch should, in theory, then shuttle them out to other churches where they can grow more.
A church shouldn't have to shuttle people out to have their congregation grow.
I kind of agree with Ben there. I think faith should be. I think faith needs to be community based. We're not saved into an individual faith. We're saved into a. Ooh, that's a big floating island. We're saved into a community of believers, and church is in large part, about a community of believers. And I think that's an important aspect that we need to get right.
Yeah.
I think I saw this a lot. So the church that I did my internship at in Dubuque was by no means a mega church. it was a great church. I loved working there. It was one of the larger churches in Dubuque. And so one thing that I saw, especially in our Emmaus crowd, is a lot of Emmaus students use that church as like their stepping off point. Like a lot of students who went to our college in Emmaus would start off going to this larger E-Free church. But because it was a larger church, it served a lot of people. It did a great job of doing that. But a lot of Emmaus students didn't stick around there because they wanted a church community that was smaller. And a lot of times, especially I saw this again in Emmaus circles, Emmaus students started out at this church, then separated off, filtered out, and then went to a lot of smaller churches around town. But a lot of them, so especially in like the early days of like Emmaus, when a lot of freshmen are in town trying out churches for the first time, they're 18 years old, just out of high school, just away from their parents, and they're looking for a church family. They'll usually start at the big church that is attracting a lot of people, and it's again, not that it's a bad church, I love serving there, but then they're like, dang, it is harder for me to connect with people than it has been other places. So I'm going to go to like an ACC or a Gap or something that's really small. And again, Emmaus, they're going there to their brethren churches. But yeah, I think a lot of times I don't think that's a good use. I don't think that's a good use of churches. I don't think believers should be using churches as a jumping off point.
That's part of why I'm in favor of smaller churches. It's easier to connect with people. Yeah. On the flip side, it can be way harder to connect with people if the church isn't.
And I would even say that like that church in Dubuque wasn't even a big church. Like it was literally just a bigger building than most, and it had a two service model. So
yeah,
you didn't necessarily get the exact same crowd every week, and they did serve a lot of people. And a lot of people were
I haven't actually been to Hope, so
it's a great. I loved it there.
I was gonna say I liked it when I visited. I didn't stick around there, and it wasn't because I went to a smaller church by any means, but I did enjoy Hope when I was there. But again, I used it like that was one of the first places I went, just because when I was looking for a church in town, that I wouldn't feel like an immediate outsider just because of walking into a place where everyone already knows each other. It was very intimidating for someone who's new.
It's a comfortable church for a lot of people, I think, because it's very similar to a normal non-denom / E-Free / loosely Baptist church that most people in the evangelical world grow up in.
Yeah. And so I don't think that that's unhealthy by any means to use. And that's the same logic I use as well when I come to thinking about like mega churches and places like that, because of the fact that, again, like if it's your first time in church and you walk into, just using for example, I'm not trying to stereotype, but a brethren church, you're not going to fit in. You're going to feel really uncomfortable because everyone knows everything and is using, talking about higher theology, which, that's good. But as a new person, you probably won't be interested in going back if you just feel dumb the whole time. If you feel uncomfortable as an outsider, you won't want to go back.
Which, in my opinion, is part of why I don't think the Sunday morning service is primarily for unbelievers. It's primarily for believers, and a person ideally should be being evangelized by friends or something before they get to the church so that they have some familiarity.
So if you don't mind me asking then, going off of that, how do you think that unbelievers are going to hear about the Bible?
Ideally from believers. Outside of the Sunday morning church.
And I don't disagree with that.
The Sunday morning church should also be understandable. Like, you shouldn't. A Sunday morning service should not sound like a middle of the week theology lecture. There is a difference between a sermon and a teaching lecture, and that's actually something we've been talking a lot about in homiletics. Today, we were joking about how much easier it is to do just a straight exegetical sermon, because you don't have to connect the dots to make it relevant and understandable.
Yeah.
You just have to explain what it means and keep moving on.
Yep.
But no, the evangelism thing is difficult, but also I do think that the Sunday morning is primarily for believers, not unbelievers, so you shouldn't shy away from teaching your believers what they need to be learning, so that an unbeliever who might come to church might understand it better and might stay longer.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with that either. I think that it needs to be focused towards believers, but also needs to be accessible to unbelievers. And honestly, where I'd probably say more so than that is that a Sunday morning church service needs to be targeted towards their congregation.
Yes.
So like a Brethren church is naturally going to need, and as it should, a higher theology level than say a mega church, because that's their congregation. Their congregation is people who are hearing these things for the first time, and so they're targeting whether people like it or not. They're targeting their congregation as they should, which is people who haven't heard it before. And part of that, just a lot of people who end up in mega churches as pastors, or whose churches end up becoming mega churches, didn't necessarily intend on getting to that point of being a mega church. It's just kind of, if that's where their ministry ends up, then they have to adjust as needed for that time in ministry. Like the mega church that I went to for a long time growing up started as a Bible study, and it slowly grew and grew and grew, and then eventually they decided, let's just start our own church. And then because of the faithfulness in that period, it just continued to grow, and to the point where they needed multiple services, and then to the point where they needed multiple congregations. And as that time went, like even just growing up, I can remember times when the messages were theologically deeper than they are currently. And that's just because they had to adjust as their congregation to what style of ministry their people needed for that phase. And that's not to say that they don't have those deep conversations, but as you grow, you need to have those deep conversations in a way that people can actually access and discuss them without it just feeling like you're being yelled at. And so that's where megachurches end up just having to utilize small groups so much more than a lot of other places, just because that's their prime time for those deeper conversations.
Yeah. And see, here we're also running into my whole, I think probably pretty obvious at this point, anti-megachurch mindset. I am very, very strongly small church, but that's its own whole conversation.
Yeah.
Also with some background in
If you guys sleep, it's been night for a long time, and I'm about to
underground farming zombies.
I was going to say, I'm working on
why
my
are you about to
plate.
die?
Because Nolan never eats.
How are you so bad at the game that you play so much?
He's got a point.
Eat food, my friend. Eat food.
No, I just got attacked by like 6 spiders and 2
Oh,
creepers,
and
like, at once.
spiders are rough.
Okay, that's a little different. I'll take that back. Man, I'm not presenting myself very calmly tonight.
No. You're riled up, I can tell.
No.
Well, we opened it with a Stephen Furtick tweet, so...
Not Stephen
but then you
Furtick.
but then you said a slur.
That's not a slur.
It technically is.
Well, technically... Never mind, I'm not going to say that either.
Uh-oh, Ben's going to
Don't
get
use
canceled.
bad words, Ben.
Joe,
Sorry,
I'd be
that's
interested
all.
in hearing your thoughts on this. Because I feel like...
forgot Joe was in here.
I am in here.
Hi,
I'm just
Dylan.
quiet tonight.
That's
Yeah.
alright.
That's probably the wiser course of action than yelling everything you think as soon as it comes into your mind, like some of us do.
That's okay. That's what happens when you get old.
Yeah.
Let the youngins argue about things.
Alex just commented in the chat, it's been a while since I've seen Angry Ben.
I was wondering if Alex was still here. He knows how that goes.
Yep. And luckily, we all know how Angry Ben goes, and so we're not taking it personally either.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
Yeah,
We
we're
still
all
love Angry
friends.
Ben.
I would actually go as far as to say we're all very close friends here.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Ben gets fired up about theology pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Actually, I hate you guys. You guys are awful.
That's why you're
Oh,
Yeah,
here. We love you, Joe. You can hate us all you want.
I will.
I never loved any of you.
I will support you, but I will not love you. Got him.
Amen, brethren.
Joe, do you have any thoughts on that conversation?
I
No,
won't attack you, Joe.
a lot. I mean, I wouldn't call myself anti-megachurch, because I can see the value of them and the need to have that. But I mean, I've always, growing up and in my own personal faith walk, found it better, like for my own faith walk, to just be part of a small church. And when it comes to a small church, they are going to have to focus more on their congregation. So kind of, a little bit more of what Ben kind of was saying, I think. So that's really the only thoughts that I had. I also was kind of focused, so I wasn't really paying
No, you're
attention.
good.
I was...
Joe's
That's
currently
why
building
I'm
his
at my
house up
house.
there.
That's why I'm down here farming zombies right now, is because I wanted to be able to focus on this conversation. I will say, I do wonder, there may be a spot for megachurch as far as large urban areas. There's different logistics than rural areas. I have mostly grown up in rural, so I recognize that there's differences in population logistics and dispersion and all that that may play into it. I'm always curious about pastors like John Piper, John MacArthur, and then some of the old guys like Spurgeon and Whitefield, who would have... Whitefield doesn't really count because he wasn't so much pastoring one church as he was doing revival meetings, but I'm curious how those guys run big churches well. And I don't want to get into the conversation of whether the modern ones are run well, because I don't know enough about those churches, but...
Yeah, because I mean, John Piper is a part of a huge church. He's the pastor of a huge church. Like bigger than I would be comfortable attending, and that's coming from someone who attended a mega church.
Yep. Which I just think is very interesting. Especially because I have a lot of respect for Piper. I think him being a pastor theologian is a very good thing, and a very, like, historically, most theologians were pastors before.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not necessarily true, but a lot of theologians of note have been pastors more than they have been professors, so I like that he does it that way. I also don't know too much about how his church runs, and I haven't listened to many of his sermons as much as I've read or whatever other stuff.
I would be interested, because I haven't ever listened to like many of his... I don't think I've listened to any actual Piper sermons.
I can't remember if I have either.
And I would be interested in hearing where he places his focus at his church.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like it all comes back to what does your congregation need? And as a megachurch, I'd be interested to see how he handles the nature of having that many people there with that many different learning levels, with also being a renowned theologian. It'd be very interesting to hear.
That would be.
I will say small churches are a great thing. I think that there can also be some issues with when a church gets too small, especially in like smaller, kind of more ignorant communities. It can really easily turn into a cult of personality thing for whoever that church's pastor is.
Yeah.
That's why proper church leadership is important.
Yeah, and that's like when I think of that, I think of like the Doug Wilson Church in Moscow, Idaho. I don't even remember what that church is, but like the church advertises itself as like the most like theologically sound Christian church denomination in Idaho is what it tries to present itself as. And they see everything kind of through the lens of like Christians have to win the culture war. But if you go to Moscow, Idaho's like Reddit page, and I know Reddit's a terrible resource.
I was gonna say this suddenly got a lot less reputable, but keep going.
If you go to Moscow, Idaho's like subreddit page, the most upvoted post of all time, I think it was for the longest time, was a huge thread of people complaining what a horrible testimony that church was in their community. And it was
are these from believers, or are these from random people in the community who didn't like
These are from random people in the community, and it wasn't because of culture war stuff. It was literally just because of how, I don't know, but the church, I'm sure, was doing some things right, but nevertheless, like, churches are God's way of like showing his love to the people around us. And if your church has a reputation where like it's like infamous in your town, you're definitely doing a bad job of it if your church is infamous.
Okay,
like,
okay.
Your church should
Depending on why it's infamous, though.
I would need to go back and find that Reddit post that talked about it, but like they're not. I think their church is too focused on winning a culture war. It's not focused on like winning souls to the kingdom. It's focused on owning the libs. Like,
okay, yeah. Once you mix politics into it too far, it's a problem. It's actually really interesting. I've been reading. I'm going to completely hijack the conversation and go somewhere nowhere else is probably interested in going. But I've been reading Winston Churchill's history book because he wrote a history book. Because why not? He's Winston Churchill. He can do what he wants. But so I've been reading about the Oliver Cromwell section, where basically it's an incredibly complex issue. I would argue, from what I've read, it's a more complex civil war than our civil war was. But so basically there's a civil war in England, largely over religion. because you have the Anglicans trying to enforce Anglicanism on the entire population. So then you've got Puritans, who are more of a proto-Baptist model, and Presbyterians, who are having issues with that. Civil war breaks out. Eventually, it turns into a theocratic dictatorship under Oliver Cromwell, which seems to have started from a place of trying to properly order the nation, with a lot of Old Testament stuff weirdly mixed in. Like, they didn't understand that the church wasn't Israel. There was some covenantal theology there, but I don't want to bring that up as like the worst example of how covenant theology can work out and use that to downplay the whole system. But there was some of that, and basically that was the first modern attempt at a theocratic state, and it went horribly. Like, it was just an absolute train wreck. And that's relevant to the whole Christian nationalism thing that's been going on, and just one of the dangers of mixing politics and church too much.
Yeah.
It's also funny that that's the direction you took it, because Doug Wilson is also like responsible for the federal vision. It was a very minor heresy that first took off in the early 2000s, but federal vision is in essence just like a federalized version of Christianity, where Christianity could be run a lot more like a government.
Okay.
And he is the guy who influenced a lot of the big Christian nationalist voices today, like William and Stephen Wolfe, both Christian nationalist guys. Joel Webban, they all kind of take their inspiration from Doug Wilson. They kind of see him as like the forefather of like their viewpoint. And Doug Wilson, who, despite like kind of being one of the pioneers for federal vision, has since actually almost completely abandoned it.
Yeah. It sounds great. I love the idea of living in a nation where the laws are mostly drawn from biblical standards. However, you cannot compel salvation. That's the story of the Middle Ages and the early Renaissance even, is you can't compel salvation, and Christianity without a salvation relationship is nothing more than moralism.
Yeah.
And that's not what the gospel is, it's not what we're called to. And so as much as I sympathize, is that the word? I think
Yeah.
so. As much as I have that, sympathize with the desire to have a godly nation, and as much as I think a godly nation is a good thing, and I want that, we are called to work for the good of the town that we live in, or the nation we live in. And part of that means trying to enact just laws and all that. But you can't... The Bible isn't designed for New Testament believers to be a foundation for government. Government is kind of a separate sphere. So it
Actually,
doesn't work well when you combine the two.
I'm not sure how I feel about I don't think that you'll ever be able to like make a code of Christian law. Like, even in like the new heaven, the new earth, when we're reigning with Christ, will we still have laws like that are just the laws of Christianity? Because we'll all have redeemed minds and redeemed bodies free of sin. That begs the question then.
Okay.
Then that begs the question: in eternity future, will we still have or need laws?
Well, right and wrong will still exist, even if we don't have any desire or even ability to do wrong.
Yeah, Nolan, don't take water from here because it's not full.
Okay, I am actually going to build a beach here because I got 5 turtle eggs.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to...
Just, yeah, be cautious because, again, the water itself is not full. So if you just start taking from it, it'll flow like that. So I can go back through later and fix it. Because it's technically moving water. Because just the surface.
How do we make that not a thing?
I don't know. I think there's a way you can do it with, maybe it's kelp. But I'm not sure on that.
Which kelp is pretty easy to farm.
Yeah. An interesting question that I kind of want to ask that goes off of that idea of like having a perfect Christian nation. As believers who are called to the mission of promoting the gospel to the unbelievers, if we were living in a nation full of only Christians, how would that play out?
The Old Testament kingdom of Israel, that's what they were supposed to be. And ideally what it would have been was they would have shown the rest of the world, hey, because a nation that was completely ordered around God's laws would be a better nation than any other nation on earth.
Yep.
And so the idea is people want to become part of that people. And so Israel, in the ancient times, the way that they primarily were supposed to evangelize was showing people the benefits, physically and everything, of following God. And there were also provisions for people to join the Kingdom of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, it's a hypothetical because we will never have a perfect Christian nation
Yeah.
or a perfect Christian kingdom because we're not perfect people. That's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell Doug Wilson.
But even if he knows anything about human nature, I'm sure he would agree that you can't have a perfect Christian nation and wouldn't expect that to be what happens. I'm assuming he's just trying to say that we should be looking to the Bible as the foundation for our laws, which I have sympathy for, but I don't know how you would get that to practically work in a real-world setting. So.
Yeah.
That's the neat thing. You don't.
Well, that's the problem, and that's the problem with all of those theories and ideas. That, again, I would love to live in a nation where everyone was a Christian. I don't know any Christian who wouldn't want to live in a nation where everyone also believed and acted the way that we were supposed to. Because we know, as Christians, or at least we believe, that if everyone lived the way Jesus told us to, we'd be in a much better place than when people live not how he told us to. But that's just not possible.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's where I think it'd be... Honestly, I think that if we ever... And again, this is all hypothetical, because obviously we won't ever reach a point until the new heaven and the new earth where everyone around us is a believer. But I would almost go so far as to argue that having a nation that was exclusively Christians would break the Great Commandment. Or at least we'd all have to be going and doing mission work all the time.
The Great Commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Oh, sorry, the Great Commission, I mean.
There we go.
Because of the fact that as believers we're called to evangelize the world, and if we're living in a place where we're only surrounded by believers, which we know wouldn't ever... Which we know wouldn't be a thing... Or, let me restart. The only way to live in a place that is only believers would be to cut off, basically, everyone who's not. And by doing so, we are intentionally dooming them to eternity without Christ.
Again, you'd have to... this is all hypothetical.
Oh, obviously, yeah. No, this isn't like a super deep, because, again, it won't happen. But... And I had never thought about that until just right now, so I haven't formed my thought on it very much.
So I don't know how that'd work out. Such a nation that was truly all believers probably would have like an organized missionary arm of the government that would like sponsor and travel from embassy to embassy.
Yeah.
And like have missional outposts in the different countries. I don't know, it could work, but again, completely hypothetical.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna put too much time into trying to figure out how that would work because it'll never happen.
Yeah. It was just an interesting thought I had.
I don't know. The idea, though, I think we should drop Christian nationalism for now. That could be a subject for a whole other time, and I'm kind of uncomfortable talking about it right now.
That's fair.
That's where we're at in the podcast, just because it's still a little bit early on. So let's save that, and we can absolutely have that conversation another time.
Yeah.
While we were thinking about mega churches, do you think that one church in like Utah or whatever has done the like their Easter play yet?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm talking about?
The one that they always like fully rip off like an actual movie or musical.
Like a Marvel movie?
Yeah, they make like...
Do you think they've done that one yet?
I don't know.
Alright, let's take bets right now. What
church is it?
The theme of... I don't know. If you search Church Iron Man musical, I think that was the last one. The last like funny one they did one where they crucified Iron Man and then he came back to life 3 days later.
Yeah, it was Easter, but like the Avengers.
Are you guys trying to make me mad again?
Yeah.
There was another one where there was Buzz Lightyear where Emperor Zurg shot him and then Buzz Lightyear said, "It is finished," and then fell off stage.
The article that pops up from last year. Watch this church crucify a Chumbawamba singing Iron Man for Easter.
That's so stupid.
Church of the Rock. Interdenominational multi-site church in Winnipeg, Canada.
I'm just
Oh,
going
is
to point
it
out...
Canada? I thought it was in like LA or something.
Thinking Canadians, this is why we didn't... Never mind.
Oh gosh. Careful.
Hey,
Careful.
Don't bad talk my brethren.
I don't want them to invade our nation out of their desire to control both sides of Niagara Falls again.
Oh no, I found it! Murder on the Jerusalem Express. Easter
Is that right?
2024, Saturday, March 30th and Sunday, March 31st.
You guys want to go?
Can I just point out,
Yes.
I'm sending this image in Discord.
to tie this back to our previous conversation, can I just point out that they're a multi-site church?
Hey now.
Thank you.
I've gone to a
You're not
multi-site...
work
a multi-site church.
No, I've gone to a
I love you,
multi-site
Ben.
church
You
though
are
that
so
does really
on
well.
topic.
Yeah, that is the extreme version of bad megachurch right there.
Kids Rock available.
Okay, I'm glad we agree. I figured we would. I had no doubt. I'm just saying, I'm glad we all agree that this one is not a good way to evangelize.
Oh
No.
no, this one's the best way. No, absolutely.
Murder on the
not.
Jerusalem Express is an interesting one. I know a couple years ago they did Toy Story, but it was Emperor Zurg mixed with Lotso was the Satan figure.
Oh gosh.
Well, that's also misunderstanding the atonement at that point, where you're saying it was Christ or Satan overpowering Christ and killing him against his will. That's not at all how the atonement played out.
And misunderstanding Toy Story, first of all. Let's get this
Wow.
straight. That's more important.
Yeah, that's the
here.
most important part.
Obviously.
We're kidding, just in case
I
anyone's
was gonna say,
listening.
can you hear the
Is this the
sarcasm
infinite source?
rolling in
Yeah.
waves off the tongue?
Oh. But we can't... Oh, wait, Nolan, stop. No.
Say the word and I'll slash kill him.
Did you not hear me saying stop?
I'll fix it. I put another infinite source over here.
I'll fix it.
Alright, I fixed it. Alex just said, yes, Iron Man in the church, fire emoji. Alright, Nolan, I made it. You can only pull from this spot right here that I'm sitting in. I'm gonna turn around and it's gone, aren't I?
Jacob, save him!
What are you two doing?
Jacob,
It is so
no!
close! No, stop! We killed a fish.
What fish? The cod in my elevator?
No, Nolan found another fish.
Oh.
Thank you, Joe, very cool. No, you just lit him on fire! He's gonna die! Oh.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to.
That's it, slash kill
I'll get
Nolan.
your-
No, I'm kidding.
No,
Kidding.
please
He's
don't. I'll get
he's
Joe's-
underwater. It'd be really annoying to get back.
I'm getting Joe's stuff back and taking it to his house for him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to actually kill you. I didn't
Here.
realize I had my god bow equipped.
Sad Skelly, no.
That's kind of sacrilegious, saying that you have a god bow.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
New topic.
Overpowered bow. I'll bring. I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to do that.
Here, Joe, as a compensation for having to deal with him, here's a little something from the admin.
Uh-oh, Joe's about to get like a netherite sword or something.
No, nothing
Ben
that
just
overpowered.
Ben drops Joe a Warden spawn egg.
Oh,
No,
that would have
please.
been way smarter. Oh well. I've already given him a thing, I can't give him another thing.
What?
Joe, where did you put? Oh,
You could you could always just take your thing back and just give me that other thing.
You know, that's a good point.
I mean, I wouldn't complain.
I'm so confused by what's going on right now, and I'm okay with not knowing.
Joe, I put all of your gear into the chest outside your house plus a gift.
As funny as a warden egg would be, I
It's
don't want
okay.
one running around in the overworld.
No, and we know that someone would spawn it. We don't do
Someone
well with the
would.
nuclear deterrent. The nuclear deterrent
No,
always
no.
gets used.
No, I won't do it. You know I won't. I don't want to die.
Okay,
Joe
Mr.
wanted to-
TNT Trap.
Well, that's worse.
I was gonna say the only way
Hey,
nuclear
there.
deterrent
I
works
think
is if everyone
surprisingly
has
they
it.
trust me more than you with
Yeah.
something like that, which is a surprise.
Because at least Joe would know what he's doing.
I
Nolan would
know
like
what I'm
accidentally spawn it on in his house or something dumb like that.
Yeah.
But he'd do it when no one else is online.
Did
You
my
can text to the Discord with just a picture of a gas floating around in his house.
Oh god.
Nolan, did my steak and torches like stack with your stuff? Because
Probably.
those are
Oh,
the two
yes,
things
they
I'm
did.
missing.
I'll bring it back.
You are good.
I also left you a golden apple because as an apology.
I saw. You little cutie.
Alright.
Hey now. All right. Yeah, 'cause the Toy Story Easter one was kind of wild as it was.
Oh, are we still talking about
I
this?
would, yeah,
I'm okay with it. I can talk about
what do
this
you
for
think
way too
Murder on
long.
the Jerusalem Express could be about?
Ben,
Well-
where did you say that you left my admin power?
He's instead of at the end where everyone was guilty, he's gonna save them all. No wait, isn't that literally like the plot? Doesn't like Poirot like find out that they're all guilty and then walk away and tell the cops that the murderer escaped? Wasn't that literally the plot of that movie?
I don't know. I haven't actually seen that movie.
I never watched it.
I mean, it was a good movie, but
I'm
like,
sure it was.
This one might actually be a lot more tasteful than the other ones.
No,
I mean, I
there's
can
no
ask
way.
Sydney. Sydney
So-
would 100% know.
So, Jacob, I haven't seen Murder on the Orient Express. I have played the Microsoft Train Simulator 2005.
oh, that's
Murder
the
on
same
Orient
thing.
Express level.
Oh, there's a level on that? I thought you were just gonna say Train
You would
Simulator.
play,
No, there
you
was
would
a
play
Murder on the...
Microsoft Train Simulator.
Yeah, I got it from my grandpa and spent way too much time on that when I was like 12.
I could see it.
Yeah, no, there was a Murder on the Orient Express level, and all it really was stopping at random stations to drop off cars for evidence or
Yeah,
let the.
that has nothing to do with the
detective
actual
jump on.
story.
Well,
'Cause-
no, of course not. I don't think it even tells you who the murderer is in the game.
It's because they all did it. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. Oopsies.
Oh,
I
well.
played a version of Murder on the Orient Express once, except for it was just Red Dead Redemption 2 and I blew up the train.
That sounds about
Yes,
right.
Pastor.
Hey, Red Dead Redemption 2 it slaps.
It's a great game. Speaking of redemption, let's talk
Oh.
about the Lord.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, okay. Someone who hasn't already ranted for half of the episode, explain to me why it is wrong to portray, or why it's incorrect to portray Christ in that way, or to portray his sacrifice in that way. What's incorrect?
I mean, it's
about
obviously, it's done for financial gain.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any really getting around that.
it? Okay, well, what's
and-
the problem with that?
I love using
are-
Jesus for money.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing that, what would it be? I know it's wrong. I
think it's
struggle in
big-
this exact moment to define exactly what that sin would be.
I was gonna say I don't know if there's necessarily a name for it besides like desecrating the sacredness of that act, and the fact that it's
That-
holy and like you're not supposed to like it's not making fun of it, but to an
It's
extent it's
demeaning it,
demeaning
though.
it.
It's
Yeah, it's
taking
definitely
away
meaning it. Is it blasphemy then, or is it?
Yeah,
taking away
blasphemy is
saying
probably the right term.
Blasphemy is probably the best way to describe it in a one word, because it's
Or
turning
taking the Lord's
something
name in vain.
of the greatest severity and
Possibly.
turning it into either entertainment, a way to gain money, or even if, let's say hypothetically, it really is, they are trying to make it interesting for people. You're not treating it with enough gravity. If a
No.
person doesn't care enough to pay attention, it's not the church's job to twist the story so far that it's not actually telling what happened.
Yeah, it needs to be
So you
accessible,
go
but
from-
still truthful.
If someone's not going to pay attention to the resurrection story unless it's presented to them in that format, what are they going to do after that service is over? Are they going to go read the Bible with all of its
Yeah.
confusing and difficult things? And
Yeah.
like, you can't. It's not a sustainable model. It's not, I think,
No.
legitimate.
I was gonna say I'm in this group. I would be the most likely one to agree with that, and I
Yeah.
don't, because of the fact that I'm all about making the Bible accessible to as many people as possible. And if you need to use that in like a media format, yes, but just do a normal Easter play.
Yeah.
Tell the story truthfully. Don't twist it into Zurg or Poirot or Iron Man.
Zerd.
Also, Iron Man brings up a whole other slew of Jesus being an abusive alcoholic, but that's a whole other
See,
story.
that's another issue, is when you identify him with a different character, you're putting those character traits on him.
Yeah.
That's not
Hey,
right.
Bowder,
Yeah?
I'm gonna derail you.
Okay.
How do you get a beehive?
That's a Nolan question. I actually don't know.
Nolan.
You need to put a campfire underneath it with smoke.
Hey, Nolan.
And then what do I need to grab it? Is it a shears?
Oh, you can't take a bee's nest. You just have to break the bee's nest. It's a whole thing. You have to just breed enough bees. I have an extra beehive that I could bring you, baby. Let's save you some time. I can also just craft you one. I just need to build a campfire so I can smoke the bees out.
Hey, Nolan.
What?
I just got 50 emeralds at the Plains Village just from trading rotten flesh.
Oh my
Isn't it
gosh.
nice?
I
Thanks for
certainly
maxing out.
understand your obsession with these guys. I don't know what I'm going to do with these
Yes.
emeralds, but I do have them now.
Yeah, I've never done much villager trading.
I haven't either, but I have all that rotten flesh from the zombie spawner, and it's like, well, I don't know what else I'm going to do with it.
That's fair. Alright, I just made another infinite water source, so hopefully I can get this done even quicker. Actually, now I don't remember where it was. Shears. Oh, Alex just said shears to get the honeycomb, bottles to get the honey. But how'd you gather the actual?
You have to craft it.
I think, don't you have to break a hive and then rebuild it with something?
Yeah, you have to break a hive, you have to rebuild it. Ultimately, what you want is you want to get bees to follow you. Or you just need to breed enough bees so that they fill up the nest and go to the hive. The kicker is if you break the hive, the bees will deregister from that hive, but then they'll also chase you until they die. And then you just need to breed more bees so you can, so they fill up all the area near you. It's a whole process.
Yeah,
You
that
can
was
also
something I've
attract-
never done.
Extremely frustrating to do, actually.
Yeah, but honey is fairly useful, isn't it? Doesn't it actually heal you if you just drink it straight?
I think so. And also,
Yeah,
honey
you should
blocks
go
are
like a
helpful
bunch of
for
honey
contraptions and stuff.
Yeah.
You can make good farms on it because the honey sticks.
You can also use it to wax copper so that it doesn't
Turn
result
green.
to oxidize after a certain
Oh, that's
point.
right. I didn't even know you could do that with honey.
Which
Yep.
could actually make for some pretty cool, like, half-weathered copper stuff.
Yeah.
You just have to have a honey farm going first, which is its own whole fiasco.
Yep. I was gonna say I've got a bunch of copper, but I'm not gonna use it for anything right now.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Look at that. The stairs up to my glorious home.
I guess
So
it's-
let's walk through. I think for new viewers, why is Jesus' death and resurrection so important?
Because if he didn't do it, we'd all go to hell.
None of us,
yeah.
none of us jumped in
Yeah.
to answer. We all just sat here.
In essence, yes.
That is literally the most simple way I could ever tell you about it.
It is not
Jesus
wrong. in
didn't
any
die on
way.
the cross, we'd be all going to hell.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the whole focal point of being a Christian. Honestly, more important than I'd say Easter and Good Friday are more important than Christmas.
I would
Oh,
tend to agree.
easily, I would say that.
Because
Well,
Christmas
actually,
could have
I-
just been a random person being born if Easter didn't happen.
I will say
I mean-
that is not entirely correct. I think a lot, like half the Old Testament hinges upon like
The coming of
Jesus'
Christ.
Jesus' birth. The coming of
Yeah.
Christ is important.
But if he
No,
didn't come
no,
back to
guys.
life, then he would have just been a random baby who was prophesied about being born.
Yeah, no, this is not an argument worth having. They are both incredibly important holidays.
Yeah.
They both commemorate incredibly important. Obviously, Easter couldn't have happened if Christmas hadn't
Well,
happened.
yeah.
However, the event commemorated by Easter, ignoring the practicalities of Christmas being the foundation for that, Easter and what it commemorates is the most important event in human history
Mhm.
because it is the only way humanity can be saved from death.
Yeah.
It is the only way that we can be freed from the penalty that we deserve.
I was
We
gonna
all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We all have either ourselves or through our representative Adam, or however you want to technically delineate it theologically, we all are guilty of sin before God. We all need forgiveness. We all must have an atonement, and only Christ is able to make that atonement.
Yeah.
Even the Old Testament saints in their system, Paul in Romans says that they were only justified through a crediting forward of their debts, basically, to Christ.
Mm,
So even pre-Christ, it was all dependent upon him.
mhm.
Well, also they had faith. Abraham believed it was accounted to him for righteousness.
Yes, but that was the mechanism of that was the crediting forward. Faith is the mechanism of how it gets applied to him. But yeah, no,
I was
faith
gonna
is
say that's
obviously
one of the
faith in
few
Christ is
theological
what we
hills
believe.
I'll die on. Is that not saying that Christmas isn't important, but that Easter is more important. Because
I
again,
don't think you'll
obvious,
find many people trying to knock you off of that hill, though.
because obviously Easter couldn't have happened if Jesus wasn't born.
Well, yeah, but that's like a
But-
pedantic point you're making at that. stage.
Yeah.
That's a well actually point to make. Nolan, I don't think you made that point. If you did, sorry, I'm not trying to call you a well actually person.
No, I just don't want. I don't want the significance of Jesus' birth taken away from the significance of Jesus.
Definitely.
No, for sure.
I also don't want any significance taken away from Christ's birth. Christ's birth is like, Christ's birth is also important.
Yeah.
Like you said, the entire Old Testament anticipates it. Again, Christ's whole life is the most important thing that has happened in human history.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Second only to the invention of peanut butter, but that's besides the point.
Well, that's obvious, so that's another thing that I don't know that I have to describe.
You and peanut butter.
And the birth of Notch. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I would
That's
rather have peanut
bad.
butter than Minecraft.
Poor peanut allergy people.
At least you didn't say the birth of Minecraft's creator was like adjacent to the birth of Christ.
That'll be their play next year.
No. Once the Minecraft movie's out, you know they're gonna do a Minecraft Jesus parody.
Ooh, is
Yikes.
Satan hero, Brian?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Again, I want to reiterate, saying that it was Furtick was incorrect. So Furtick's
That is
lawyers don't
true.
come after
That
us.
is fair. I'll fight him, I don't care. But also, that is fair. It's not legitimate to get mad at a guy for something that his subordinate said.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, having been told that that's what it was, I'm not going to hold him overly responsible for that.
Mhm.
I do still think it's a poor thing for his church to say, but we've already discussed it plenty. So.
Yeah.
Do you have any wood? Does anybody have any extra wood?
I do.
I turned most of it into charcoal.
I'm currently punching Joe on my lake.
Nice. Fun pastime.
Have my turtles hatched?
How would I know?
I was asking Jacob, not you.
No. Should I go jump on him? Does that hurry up the process? Joe, no. Joe, no. Joe. Joe.
No, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't
I've
do it.
never seen turtle eggs.
Oh.
I wasn't gonna hurt them.
I was gonna say, in case you didn't know, jumping on them kills them. So,
You got more, right, Nolan?
Ben.
No, those are my only 5.
I just see Ben sprinting across the field.
I need to pick these up. I have a mending. I have a silk touch shovel. I can do it.
Oh, speaking of mending, I think I'm gonna go spend this stack of emeralds on mending books.
Could you buy me one by any chance?
Probably.
Because
As long as he's not dead or sold out, that should be no
That
problem.
villager might be dead. I hope he's not, but
Nolan, if he's dead, I'm holding you responsible.
fair enough.
financially responsible.
We can always figure out the library. Ben, you've seen the new library built to the Plains Village.
I saw one librarian wandering around.
Oh, I actually
I
never
built it
got around
during-
to going over there.
Oh, wait, no,
I
yeah,
finished-
the big tower thing, because you...
The
Yep.
villager style library.
Yeah,
I
there's only
finished
one,
building it during the last stream.
one of them, though, and he's giving efficiency 5, which isn't the worst enchantment book by any means, but it's also not mending.
Alright, we just got a question in the chat. Yogurt Covered Raisins, which is a great name, by the way, just
Okay.
asked, what is BibleCraft? BibleCraft is basically our excuse to play Minecraft and have a podcast about the Bible without being considered podcasters.
That was a very honest explanation.
But no, BibleCraft is basically, we were all sitting around one day talking, and I was wanting to start streaming again, and we were talking about, you know, this is just generally how we hang out, is we play Minecraft and talk about... Wait. You screwed it again, Nolan.
This is exactly what our normal hangout sounds like. Like, you guys are basically just listening into a normal day with a little more, slightly, ever so slightly more direction.
Nolan, stop touching my water. You're messing it up.
I'm trying to help.
Nolan is that kid who goes out to help his dad build something in the house.
And
the
accidentally
dad
burns down the
wants
No,
house.
because
The dad
because
wants
that
to be a good
that
dad,
actually
he's
was
trying
me.
so hard. It was all of us when we were kids. All of us tried to help our dads with something that our dad did not need help with.
Yeah. But anyways, back to the question. BibleCraft is,
Oh, yeah.
we get on, we have our survival world here, and basically we either discuss pre-chosen questions, or if we see good questions come through in the chat, we'll usually answer those in favor of our pre-written questions. Just as a way of, you know, just discussing theology and the Bible and beliefs, but also while maintaining, like, as a healthy debate, without letting disagreements over theology affect our personal relationships. Because that's a very easy thing to have happen. And so,
ideally, we should be modeling that, and I think we do a very good job of that overall.
yeah.
There are times when one or more of us, or honestly, there
Or
are times
Ben.
when I get rather fired up, but we
Yeah.
always pull it back.
And it's not a problem to get fired up over theology.
No, I'm not apologizing by any
Yeah,
means. I'm
it's
just saying it is something that happens.
finding that healthy balance of where is healthy discussion, where becomes argument. So in summary, BibleCraft is a Bible podcast with Minecraft in the background.
A Bible podcast, not really podcast with my.
I would still, I don't know.
Yeah, we're redeemed Zoomer, but less insufferable.
Oh, that's a hot take, Nolan.
I do not like him very much.
Not one I would
You used
disagree
to
with,
talk about him
though.
all the time.
What was that?
You used to talk about him all the time.
Well, okay. I liked him before he started getting on a high horse about,
Now,
think-
remind me.
I
he-
think-
He's
liberal
a
brain
ortho bro.
Presbyterian.
He's
Yeah.
the
I know, bro.
he's the guy behind the Reconquista movement, which is the whole thing, which is like we need to reconquer the old churches, and we need to bring Christ back into the mainline churches that have apostatized. Which is oh my gosh.
I don't know that I even. I don't.
I was
It's
gonna
a
say
nice idea. I don't think it's possible.
no, and that's the thing. It's not necessarily a wrong thought process, but
It's
he
an
goes
admirable
about
thought.
it in a very aggressive way, where it's basically if you do disagree with me on any stance, you're a heretic. He leaves no
that's-
wiggle room for any other beliefs apart from his own.
Which is interesting because I've seen some of his like denomination.
Yeah, his
information
old
videos
denominational
are
video
super-
is great.
As I say, they're super unbiased and helpful, but
Yeah,
I guess no one is perfect.
yeah.
And
So I think it used to be a lot different than it is now, and at some point it got. I don't know if it was from just his audience size growing, or if someone got in his head saying like,
use your platform for this.
yeah, saying we
Yeah,
are the only true church.
He stopped being more even-handed, and his also his content is only fixated around Reconquista stuff, which is dude, go back to making the stuff that we liked about you.
Yeah.
Instead, you're only talking about something that it feels like your niche audience.
Yep.
I know it's
Sounds
tough because
like
I
Andrew
actually yeah, his denominational overview videos are some of the best.
Yeah,
That's been very helpful, actually.
Yeah, I've shown those to. I showed that to my wife, and I had thought about using it in youth at some point, just as because we were having discussions
Yeah, 'cause the
about what
denomination
theology
thing
is,
Sorry, I'm going over.
or what denominations are, and the differences between them, because we have a lot of kids from different denominations who come to our youth group.
What are denominations? Complicated and at times petty.
Yes, exactly. Hello, Anthony. Anthony just joined the chat. Said, "Oh my word, it's my fave streamer." I had brunch with him on Saturday. It was a good time.
Nice. This is a soccer guy, right?
Yep. So he was one of the ushers at my wedding. So actually, it's Joe. This was your other usher right here, who's about to shoot me. Ow. I was gonna say, I think he just finished his spring break this week and is now back at Moody.
Oh, I didn't know he was going to Moody. I'm
Yeah,
sure
he's
told
going
me.
to say it again in chat what you're going for. I think he said it was pastoral ministry with a minor in radio broadcasting. And I know that I
Nice.
definitely butchered it, but so he
The
works
next
at Moody
Moody
Radio, and he's
I'm probably the only person who still knows who Vernon McKee is.
no clue.
He was an old time DTS radio broadcaster guy. Actually, I really enjoyed listening to him. One summer, I kept having to be in the car at camp during times that he would be broadcasting. So,
Nice.
he's long dead. But they
Do
would
you have
call
any
me
dirt?
So,
Honestly, I don't.
Okay.
My lake is almost done. This has been
Is
such a
lake-
long progress.
There's a lot that needs to be filled in down at the bottom of this lake.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to
And
get the
also-
water done first, and then we need to figure out how to fill it so they're all source blocks.
I want to seal off the cave first.
Yeah. Honestly, I was
do you have
kind
any
of
dirt?
considering leaving cave open just as like an interesting little side element.
Well, but I have turtles that are about to be released into this lake.
Oh, that's true. If you need some like basic blocks, you can just grab like either. I have a bunch of netherrack as well, and since it'll be underwater, it won't really matter too much what it looks like.
From whence does one obtain turtle eggs?
You have to breed turtles with seagrass, and then use silk touch to pick up the eggs. Otherwise, they just break.
Yeah.
That's so complicated. I mean, that's only 2 steps. I guess it's not really that complicated, but...
But you need silk touch.
Minecraft is very different from how I remember it back when I used to play it.
It's a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, it gives more end goal stuff.
But... Also, we could make... I don't know. Maybe when we max this one out, we should discuss a, like, 1.8 world or something.
So that's actually something that... I don't know if you were on the other night when Nolan and I were actually talking about that. For our, like, more interview-style series, we were talking about doing, like, putting it in whatever version was the first version that had the dragon.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And doing, like, a throwback world.
That could be fun.
Just as something interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it would work, but it would be a very different vibe, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
There was one YouTuber who was actually doing I don't remember what he called it. It was like RetroCraft or something like that.
That's been a big movement on YouTube recently. There's a bunch of guys doing old Minecraft stuff.
Yeah, which is super cool because it's very nostalgic. But yeah, if anyone's hanging out in the chat and has any questions, feel free to send them in, and we'll discuss them or write them down for next time.
I don't know. We could go into more depth with the Christ sacrifice and everything, but I don't know how much depth we want to go into there.
Yeah, I mean,
we can get lost in, but also...
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm indifferent.
You're indifferent to Christ's sacrifice, Jacob?
Obviously, that's what I meant.
Pastor Brian, get your boy.
Get your boy. No, my job.
Well, it's back to the greenhouse for you.
No. I thought I escaped. Some new Jacob lore dropped. That means there's leads.
Oh gosh, you guys gonna go commit die on a
Yep, he's dead.
Yep.
This isn't TikTok. You can say the word murder.
No, don't.
You guys are going to go unalive. That's for foreign trader.
I
So there's
love
one more.
that that's the walk around on TikTok.
What's
so
I don't
funny
know
to
what
me.
TikTok is. So explain what you're talking about.
The walk around, because TikTok's filters will automatically take down videos or like shadow ban users that say like killed or died, and so the default TikToker.
Do they say
solution
anything
is to
about videos that mention Winnie the Pooh?
Yes.
What does that mean?
You know what it means.
Pooh.
Does TikTok allow videos that have anything to do with Winnie the Pooh?
Who's Winnie the?
I caught. He's talking about a certain nation leader.
He's talking about that one dictator he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy in charge of China, who looks like Winnie the Pooh.
China. Alex just asked a question. He said, you had talked about doing a viewer server type thing. Out of curiosity, is that still the plan? Yeah, honestly, so that is still the plan. But that's the plan for when I have time to get something like that set up.
We've been engaged in furious discussion about how to make it work.
Yeah, we actually have talked, not like extensively, but we've talked a decent bit about how that would work. The thing that we're trying to figure out, mostly that's preventing us from putting something like that up right away, is and this is actually something I've talked to about with Jared, the head of Video Game Ministries as well. And we've talked about legitimately doing something like that for like the whole of Video Games Ministries. So that would be across my channel, across his channel, and across VGM Will's channel. the complicated part of it is figuring out moderation, so that we don't have like kids stealing each other's diamonds and blowing each other's houses up, and so it's more on the server end of things that's preventing that from becoming an immediate reality.
You know how you could fix that? I just had a brilliant idea.
Nuclear deterrent.
Anarchy server.
Ooh.
Anarchy server.
No. An anarchy server will not work.
Now for you, I would have fun. You would get mad. I want to do an anarchy server.
That's
but also,
interesting.
I don't think that'll work with VGM stuff though, because VGM's whole thing is creating like a positive gaming environment.
Yeah, so that wouldn't work for VGM. But
rating's not the worst thing in the world, you know.
But idea, 24-hour anarchy server. Whatever happens, and at the end of the 24 hours, it gets shut down.
Interesting.
That way, it's not like anyone's investing a whole lot of time or effort into it.
Oh, Nolan. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying like
that much.
So that no one's like so no one gets mad about putting a lot of time into it and then having their house get blown up.
Yeah,
and literally just doing like a 24-hour, just no rules, see what happens. And honestly, that could be a fun like 12 and legitimately do it like as like a 24-hour, and this isn't like anytime soon, but do a 24-hour, maybe like as like 1,000 subscriber thing. Do a 24-hour stream of an anarchy server.
Oh geez, that'd be amazing. I would need to definitely like take a day, like a Saturday, to do that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I could not fit that into my schedule.
No, and so that's the thing. Like, it wouldn't be immediate. That would be like in the future after significant channel growth.
Oh, that could be fun though.
But that's that. I don't know if you guys, if anyone in the chat would be interested in that. I think we've got a couple guys in here right now. It's always hard to tell because most of the people who sit in our chat don't really interact. Or like they'll say something every now and then, which like I'm fine with. Like at least I know that you're hanging out and you're still paying attention.
I say it's still a view.
Yeah, but it's hard to.
The sort of thing that you would put on in the background while you're doing something else.
Yeah. Again, podcast kind of vibe.
Yes.
I'm currently gold mining in the Nether.
And I haven't been able to find that village with the many villagers. So
find a Badlands, Jacob. It's so much easier once you find a Badlands.
Yeah, that would require me to find a Badlands.
Yeah, no, Jacob. Why can't you just find whatever biome you want?
I know where one is.
No.
Take you to it.
Sorry, I don't have the world map downloaded. Oh, I just found a stronghold.
You didn't scout out the world and create it?
Wait, you never been? Wait, did you go through that other portal we had in the
Yeah, I forgot that someone had found the strong. Yeah, you had found the stronghold and just put a portal here. Coming soon.
That was like that was the first thing I did on the server.
Coming soon to a stream near you. We'll be defeating the Ender Dragon at some point.
Oh yeah, we need to do that someday.
That way, but we need to wait because that way we can also that's at some point.
That's a finale event. That's a finale event.
Yeah, or Revenge on the Warden is our finale before going into season 2.
I feel like that would actually that would actually be more difficult than killing the dragon.
Oh, 100%. Dragon's easy peasy. But defeating the Warden as like the final thing, because then we can bring all our gear with and not care.
That's true. It's just us or him, and at the end of the night, the server goes.
Yeah. We all have one life to kill him, and as soon as we die, we log off.
I've sunk too much time into the server to let it die.
I know.
But at some point, we'll shift to a season 2.
I was going to say, at some point, you're going to have to let it go, bud.
Oh, yeah, at some point. Season TNT everything. That is the finale.
But like legitimately, that would be hype. Like season 2 at some point, shift like new world, change it all up. That would be pretty cool. And maybe if we did a season 2 at that point, we might be able to add on like. I'm trying to think about how to phrase this.
Yeah. There's places we can go with that.
Yeah, there's unique places we can go. With either adding mods or adding other people to it, or
once we're not tied to a Hypixel world anymore, I like the idea of
a modded
one. To do something with mods, yeah. I've never done much with Minecraft mods, but I know there's some pretty crazy ones.
Yeah. I'm trying to find my way back to my portal because I kind of got lost. Alex said that'd be fun for the Anarchy 24-hour. That'd be a crazy. Like,
Yeah, that'd be different. That'd be very different because we always tinge with some chaos, but we've never gone near full anarchy.
yeah, no. Like, we'll kill each other every now and then, but then we'll help each other get our stuff back.
Yeah.
I think I would have a really hard time on an anarchy world.
Oh, I'd have so much fun.
Like,
That
I
would
feel like
make
I would
up-
just feel really bad.
Maybe. I don't
I
have
don't know.
empathy.
I know you don't. We talked about this last night on Discord.
I trained that weakness out of me.
Thanks.
This is a joke for any potential search committee people who are listening to this.
I'm gonna send them the clip right before I get on the phone with them on Thursday.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, just wanted you to hear this. What are the coordinates of our nether portal again? Is it like by 00?
It's basically 00. I think it's like very slightly off from there. You'll find the highways first.
Who's
Let me
building
check.
willow trees at the edge of the pond?
Me.
Those look really good. I don't even know how you're doing that.
Oh, those are the new mangroves.
Oh, did you find some mangrove saplings?
Yeah.
Oh, how did I just
Well,
light on
that's
fire there?
That's what it looks like.
It's 116.38 for the portal.
Burn, Hogland.
No, sorry, 38, 116.
38, 116.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Alex said, see, the thing is, in an anarchy server, you don't need to feel guilty. Everyone who joins should know what they're getting. That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
And that what could actually be interesting with that. I'm trying to think, because this is another thing that I've thought about doing.
Well, the thing
To
with
do
2v2T
Minecraft
is
streams.
just-
No, not 2v2T, but what I was going to say is do like hardcore anarchy with
Oh.
teams. It's like you
Yeah,
have your
it's
team and you're trying to be the
hardcore
yeah, basic. Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it is.
with health regen. That'd be the only difference.
Yeah. And
That'd
I've
be
thought
fun,
about
too.
doing ultra hardcore before as well.
That was the
Um,
first big Minecraft content I watched was
Yeah.
UHC games.
And that could be something cool because then we could get, if we schedule it as like an event of that sort, we could get
Yeah.
Jared and like legitimately make it like a full-on event. Maybe even have a prize pool.
Yeah.
Again, I'm thinking very long-term here. This is not like a
Yeah,
next week
clearly.
on Pastor Bowder. This is mostly long-term dreaming at this point of where we could take things.
Yep.
Should the audience and time and interest allow.
Yep.
Because again, we all are very
Yeah.
busy people, but something like that could be really hype. If we get to the point
Especially
where
for
it
those of
would
us
be,
who are like serving in ministry.
yeah. But if we get to the point where we have enough of an audience that would make that an enjoy. Because that's the other thing is I don't want to do a stream longer than any one person would be willing to watch while
Yeah.
it's live. And
Yeah.
like I recognize that a lot of people hop in and hop out, and we only do 2-hour streams now, and that's like I really only like whatever. But I personally probably wouldn't sit and watch a 24-hour live stream
Oh no.
like in one go as it's going, unless I was obviously actually participating in it. But the way that would be able to go, because our conversation will naturally die out at some point.
Yes.
But if there's people in chat who are able to like ask questions and comment on things, and even if we could add in like a media reaction thing to it as well to help the time go while
Mhm.
working on stuff to keep it interesting and engaging.
Yeah.
Um,
Man, there's even a side with the anarchy thing where you have to like schedule when to take naps so you can be awake.
nope.
But not.
We could get together and organize mission trips to
No, I'm saying.
TVCT.
I'm saying, like-
Could you imagine if we went on 2v2T and tried to like evangelize?
Oh my gosh, that'd be a disaster. But so
No,
one
that's
guy-
the kind of crap that's the kind of crap that Redeem Zoomer puts together.
Does he
say,
actually?
one of
That's
those
kind of funny.
guys who does
Yeah, he puts together mission trips to other Minecraft servers.
Go to the sleep deprived SMP.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
that's so
That's
funny.
so
I've been
wild.
watching a little bit of it.
I can neither confirm
That
nor
was
deny
so
that I
wild.
have as well. I need to work on a better storage system in my house here.
I just barely I watched like 2 videos on the 2B2T stuff a few days ago. It's insane.
Yeah, the pure lore behind that server is wild.
Like it's indiscernible at a
Mhm.
certain point. I can't tell what half of what they're talking about is.
Yeah,
but
because they're referencing
it's
these
fun
events
to
like
see
their
a spawn
history.
that's so destroyed that Like, a new player has to travel for a couple hours to find a tree.
Yeah.
Or a pig.
Dude, if you're a 2B2T historian, like if you're studying the history of the 2B2T Minecraft server, I'm begging you to get a job. Like,
Nice house, Joe. I like it.
Where should I go?
I
There
need
are
to
at
make a
least
storage
2
area.
YouTubers, Nolan, who make videos on that.
or who?
There are at least 2 YouTubers who make videos on it.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially
Yeah.
exclusively.
I'm really begging them all to get jobs.
That is their job.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
Who
gonna say
are you
after
as a
that point.
Who are
imagine
you?
having to explain. Oh yeah, my job is a Minecraft server historian.
I mean, imagine
Who are you, my
putting on your
postmodern
resume
friend?
professional Minecrafter while applying to churches.
I would not do that.
Oh.
That's like putting professional chess player on your LinkedIn profile.
Hey, too close to home.
I can't believe somebody did that.
We can't make references to people who might actually at some point stumble across this, Ben.
Yeah, I didn't say it was a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not the most becoming thing.
RVNG6245. No, you cannot join this one. We were actually just talking to Alex, who's in the chat right now, about doing a viewer server sometime soon in the future. So if you want to stay up to date on that and possibly join that, feel free to subscribe. Or I think I plugged the Discord in here earlier, but I'll send that again. And that's where we'll do all the announcements about live streams and what's going on and all those fun details.
Alright, gentlemen, we need a topic. We have not been talking enough about stuff.
Oh,
What are we going to discuss today? Because as fascinating, I guess they're not watching from my perspective, but as fascinating as watching me ride in circles through a birch forest trying to find a villager who has mending books.
Did you find the village, Ben?
No, I can't find it. I don't know what the deal is. I've found it several times in the past.
Here, I know where it is. I'll go there and then you can just teleport to me.
But yeah,
No,
like
you're-
Ben said, if anyone in the chat has any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm just kind of focused on building. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them forward. But otherwise, I'm just kind of building here. I'm working on making an actual storage room. Because my storage is abysmal at this point.
Let's see. What have I been...
Yeah, Ben, you maxed out all my clerics.
Yeah, good.
Let's see here. I'm making some quartz bricks.
Tactical fishing. Let me think.
Where's my wood? There's what kind of? I'll grab the birch wood, change it up a little bit for the basement here.
What else is there Easter related to talk about?
So last night my church put together a gospel reading night. So a bunch of people in my church got together. We sat down. We read the whole book of John in one sitting. I think it's So here's the question for you guys: which gospel do you think tells the most complete story of what happened during Passion Week, Holy Week, whatever? Which gospel do you think tells the most complete story, and which telling of the gospel story, and which telling of the death and resurrection story in the gospels is your favorite?
Interesting.
For our youth night, I'm personally preaching mostly out of Mark.
Really? Mark has the least complete resurrection scene.
That's part of it. Is it's a lot to talk because I'm doing Good Friday. I'm doing death and resurrection in one night.
Oh. Okay.
And so that's why I chose Mark, because of the fact that it's the shortest account of it.
Fair enough.
So I was intentionally picking the one that was the least substantial.
Yeah.
So I recognize that I'm painting a thinner picture than Joe. No.
Now you do realize, son, that the end of Mark probably isn't even original.
Yeah, I'm not doing that part of it. I'm mostly summarizing and then quoting from Mark, I believe it's Mark
what did you say,
16.
Ben?
It's pretty much agreed upon by the majority of even conservative scholars that the last several verses in Mark are probably not original to the
Yeah.
gospel, but are a layer editorial edition.
Yep.
Epilogue.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
I think, again, I'm not a language expert as far as biblical stuff goes, so I can't give you the exact everything minutia. However, there is a noticeable difference in kind of the tone when you shift into those last few verses. I think they claim there's some differences in the Greek vocabulary, and then usually when they say that, it's because certain manuscripts won't have that section.
Yeah, certain details are missing.
Hang on, I would pull my Bible out if I wasn't on the side of a mountain on a horse in the dark. But so in my Bible, it's bracketed and in italics, like the woman caught in adultery story in John, or what's the other big one?
Yeah.
I think there's 2 in John. But yeah, there's like 3 or 4 of those bigger chunks that they'll usually still leave in Bibles. But a lot of translations will put little brackets around and be like, hey, there is significant doubt as to whether or not this was original. So be forewarned. None of them are passages that will like
really edit what actually happened.
None of them have major implications on theology. It does kind of make me wonder sometimes when certain people will overemphasize the woman in an adultery story as like the only part of Jesus' life they ever talk about.
Yeah.
But that's a different topic altogether.
But who judges you go and sin no more? Or they'll let he without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah, that passage. I think obviously, I mean, it's been in the Bible for a long time. There's doubt as to it, and there are people I've known who basically make their entire personal theology of Christ and everything based around that story, and that's not.
That's not
interesting because I observe the same thing. I observe that a lot.
Really?
Yeah. That's interesting how a verse that's like disputed as to whether or not it belongs in the Bible is like people's like.
And again, we're not saying it doesn't belong in the Bible.
Yeah,
but there's some level of doubt about whether or not it was original. It's still scripture.
So
However,
there's also Joe. Why are you in my house?
Joe's just wandering.
I'm exploring.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Hi. Hey, come look at my map.
I already saw that. I saw it.
I spent way too much time on that.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Can somebody sleep?
Yeah, I see phantoms flying around above my house. I hear them diving on me now.
There's also an interesting, in Mark 16, right at the end, there's a mention of poisonous snakes and stuff not hurting people. And that has been sometimes taken... Joe, why are you on fire?
She's
There's
always
nothing
on
in my
fire.
house. Are you okay? Oh, I hit you with my sword, didn't I? Anyway, no, that doesn't have flame on it. Mark 16 has a verse about poisonous snakes that has sometimes been used to justify unsafe and borderline problematic behavior. So, I guess there is that factor. That's a bit more debatable.
Wait, what do you mean by unsafe or problematic behavior?
The snake holding stuff that more extreme charismatic branches do comes from Mark 16.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that was a thing people did.
I think so. I think that in conjunction with the Paul snake story in Acts, but I think that has been used for that. Not 100% sure. I want to be careful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of that is also based off. I thought a lot of the snake holding stuff is based off of the Moses holding up the snake in the desert story.
How would you get to there from there?
I don't know, but that's kind of just what,
weird.
That's just what I always assumed because I never really considered it that important to think about.
Yeah.
Because I'm not charismatic and I'm not associated with the charismatic church.
Yep.
I just assumed when I thought about like people holding up snakes to heal, I thought about like that's not an unreasonable assumption to make.
No, it's not. No, I won't say you're unreasonable on that.
No.
Interesting. But anyway, the Mark 16, the John woman caught in adultery, and there's another big one. I forget it at the moment. And they're not 100% sure. It's one of those things that we don't know, like, absolutely undisputably that those aren't supposed to be in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
There is significant enough doubt that very conservative scholars, like the guys who will be on the ESV and NASB and HCSB translation boards, like notably conservative translations, will have serious doubts about it.
Yeah.
Pastor commentators who are, again, notably, and when I say conservative for chat or anyone listening, I don't mean politically as in Republican Democrat. I mean theologically, as in how high a view of Scripture do you have, how important do you view Scripture's words and all that. So theologically conservative people have serious doubts about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, theologically liberal people will doubt anything that happens to go against whatever they're talking about, but
I don't know about that. I feel like that's a bit of an extreme statement.
yeah, probably. It's me. That was probably extreme.
Hey, I can't Martin Luther.
No. There are some theological liberals who will be very haphazard in what they are willing to take as absolutely for sure in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That's a slightly more measured way to say it.
Yeah.
I have a low opinion of theological liberals. They frustrate me. It frustrates me how many of them have written very well-received books.
Define what you mean by that, just so us and everyone listening understands. Because again, we're coming from a very educated background in this world and in these words.
Yep.
So just so people understand, what do you mean by theologically liberal?
Theologically liberal, probably the easiest way to say it is they will not usually view Scripture as 100% inerrant. They will say that Scripture, the canonical 66 books, can be wrong, or they will say, and that's the root of it, is do you hold Scripture infallible or not? Because if you do, there are certain things that you will get to and agree upon. There are certain things that you won't get to and agree upon. So, like, a theological liberal can mean anyone from, I want to say Karl Barth, but Karl Barth's a weird one, and he's just kind of his own whole category.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to lump him in. But who's a really popular one? So if someone denied the deity of Christ, but was still a theologian, that's a liberal theologian.
Okay.
If someone is saying that
I think
most
can
of Paul's letters
make an
weren't written by
interjection?
Paul, that is a theological. Okay.
I want to make a slight interjection. I don't want to come off like I'm disagreeing with you because I do. I do agree with you.
Yep.
But I also want to make what I think is kind of a statement made to be a little bit more fair to them, which I think you and I also disagree on, like how fair we should be to the liberal interpretations of Scripture.
Yeah, probably.
Liberal at its root cause means free. So they take they're a little bit more free or a little bit more loosey-goosey with how they interpret Scripture.
You say a little bit, I say a lot. That is an interesting way to define it, though, is free as opposed to interesting. There's some merit to that, Nolan. Good job. Good call.
Yeah, I also don't want to like typify them by one of their arguments. If we only typify them, if we only do that by the inerrancy bit, then I think we risk strawmanning them, and I don't want to create a strawman. No, Joe is probably the most like liberal one in here, I would say. But even so, I don't think I would call Joe like theologically liberal.
No, Joe's not. I wouldn't call Joe theologically liberal at all.
No, I am very much a theological conservative.
Yeah.
And again, that's a frustrating thing with where our American culture is at, is conservative and liberal they're not restricted to the political sphere. Those terms mean a lot outside of politics.
Yeah.
There can be Republicans and Democrats and independents and Kanye supporters who are theologically liberal or theologically conservative. Their political stance has nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing to do with it. People on both sides of the aisle fall on both camps theologically. So, yeah. Theological liberal is someone who does not have a high view of Scripture as probably the most foundational thing, but what other things would fall under that? Yeah. It's such a broad category, it's almost hard to define.
We have a question in chat. I don't know how long it's been there.
It's been there for a minute, but I've just kind of been waiting for this conversation to die down a little bit.
Yeah.
So Alex asked, do you guys think someone can lose salvation?
Oh, interesting.
And I feel like...
I'm going to not speak first.
I was going to say, I feel like most of us... one of the questions that we often get is Arminian versus Calvinist. And this is one of the things that always... that when people think of that question, they don't think about this part of it. Oftentimes people, when they think of that, they mean more the predestination versus free will. But so this is somewhere that I typically fall more on the Calvinist side of I don't think that you can lose salvation. Someone who's truly saved cannot lose salvation because of the fact that once saved, you wouldn't. And this is even like, so Ben and I fundamentally agree on the question, but we agree with it from different sides of the question. Is that a fair way of saying it, Ben? So
I think so.
So I don't think true believers can lose salvation because of the fact that once you've experienced grace and you've experienced salvation, you wouldn't leave it.
I would.
And this is where Ben phrases it differently, and so go for it.
I would say you cannot lose your salvation because ultimately salvation is something that God also has a hand in, and he will not allow you to lose your salvation after you have it. Because salvation is not dependent, in my view, so much on your actions. Your actions can't violate it. I would actually, again, this is a very friendly disagreement, and on a practical level, it doesn't affect that much. I would actually disagree with Jacob, and I would say that human nature-wise, if we could throw away our salvation, we would. Or at least I would throw it away if I could, because I'm sinful, and I don't value it as much as I should, and I don't value Christ as much as I should, and I don't love him to the same fierceness as I should. If it was up to me, I would lose my salvation. But because I see it as more up to God, then I can't lose it.
Yeah, and so that's where the fundamental difference of I lie more free will, Ben lies heavily predestination, and so that's just where that, for example, that's one difference. Even if it's the same in practice, has different meaning behind what we believe.
And look, we're still friends. It is possible to disagree on this topic.
Because we know that practically it's not any different, it's just a different application of the same theology.
I have something to say about eternal security, which is the official name for what that doctrine is. As far as eternal security goes, every argument that I have ever heard for why people can lose their salvation usually can get traced back to, I know somebody who I believe was a Christian, but then they walked away from the faith. So it's usually very, very deeply personal for people, and that makes it complicated because when your emotions are tied into something, it's tough. And you don't want to think, I am of the opinion that if your salvation is something that you could walk away from, you were never really saved to begin with. I think if that's the case, then I use the example of the parable of the four soils, the parable of the sower. Because Jesus is very clear that some people the seed will just land on the path, they'll never understand or care anything about the gospel. But then there's also the soil of the rocky soil where it starts off good, but then gets drowned out by the things of the world, or the thorny soil which is choked out. No, the thorny soil. I got those backwards. The thorny soil chokes out any fruit that can be born, and the rocky soil, at the first sign of adversity, will turn away.
Interesting.
So that's how I feel, because I think that if you're walked away from your salvation, then you were soils 2 or 3.
It may have looked like you were saved, and that's a hard thing because it can be really, we can't tell who is or who isn't until, so that's a hard one, but I would agree with you, Nolan.
That's an interesting way of phrasing it,
I also, and it's tough because people will walk away from the faith, and the reality is that they were never saved. That's what I believe. I think that it's hard because especially I had a good friend in high school. A guy that I looked up to a lot in my youth group growing up. He would have told everybody that he was a believer. He was going on mission trips. He was serving at summer camp. He was very vocally and very like outwardly changed. But inwardly, this guy's heart was just rotten. Like inwardly, this guy had nothing spiritual going on. Did not actually care about his faith as much as he claimed to have. And eventually he walked away from his faith. He left our church. He started saying really cruel things about like staff at our church. Eventually decided that he didn't care about his faith, didn't care about his family. And after a while, literally ended up, I think right now he's in jail. Like,
That's a
he's in
dramatic
jail and
fall.
he's still in jail to this day and maintains like to no end that he was right about everything. Like,
So it's not always that dramatic, but it can be it's just as true that other people who are in churches right now and go to churches may present themselves as saved, but they're not.
Yeah.
They may not actually understand the gospel that they claim they believe. They may only be there because they think it's going to bring them blessing, and once that illusion is shattered, they will leave. They could only be there, and this is a lot of people that these two especially run into as youth leaders. A lot of people who seem like Christians just because that's how they're raised, and they haven't had the chance to live any other way yet.
Yeah.
So there's not a faith that's their own. There's a parental faith. Nolan, I think this villager is dead, which is very disappointing. But I did not find him over here. And yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a wasted hour trying to find him.
I didn't realize you were still looking for him.
Yeah.
He probably died. That's unfortunate. Oh wait, no, I built him a home.
No,
Look
he's stuck in there. I found him. Never mind. We're good.
Look in the spot underneath my farm because I built him a house there.
No, I was talking about the mending book villager.
Oh, praise the Lord. Okay.
Yeah, he's alive. I found him.
I'm very glad he's alive. I found 2 allies and I'm bringing them back to our base.
Oh, interesting. I don't know how to use those things properly. Effectively, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So does that mean you have a mending book I can steal from you?
I've only got 2 so far. I'm 1 emerald short of getting a 3rd.
Oh, okay.
So
I
hold
might
tight
have
while I
one
look.
emerald. I have 1 emerald.
Could you burn it?
Yep.
And then
Joe, I saw you have a bucket of lava. You want to do the honors outside? Burn it. It's gone.
Alright, and I just gave myself 1 emerald.
Check my little storage room down here, Joe. I haven't put any chests in yet, but I'm going to put like a big glass window right here. Ah! No, please.
I trapped him in the house that he's in, just in case anyone else comes here and tries to find him. Man, I wish you could kidnap villagers more easily.
You knew what I was trying to do.
Oh, I knew exactly what you tried to do as soon as I saw the block come out.
I was trying to block off Joe's source block. Yeah?
Wait a second.
Okay. That's intimidating. But yeah, so good question, Alex. Genuinely, there will probably be a stream sometime once we've all had a little bit more time to prep and do all that good stuff, where we go into a little bit more of like the individual facets of those beliefs and why we believe them with more like with biblical support and stuff. But that'll be a very intense stream that we'll all have to be in the right mood and mindset for before we start. But yeah, so if you're interested in more of that, be ready for it. It's coming at some point. But
it's an important conversation, but it can be a difficult and frustrating one to have.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to misunderstand each other on that one.
Exactly.
And it's just not something that you actually want to get in a fight over.
No.
At the same, no, sometimes I do actually want to get in fights over that one. I shouldn't present myself as better than I am. I thrive arguing with people theologically.
I was gonna say Ben thrives in arguments. I know I do not. And so part of
I try to avoid hard argument with you because it gets taken differently.
Yeah. And so that is genuinely part of what I've been enjoying about this, is it's been helping me learn as a person, like how to do theological debate without, I feel like part of that fear of it is because of how long or because of experiences at a mass, where it was just shut down because you're wrong, and that was the end of the conversation. And so I do genuinely think that that's where some of that comes from.
Yep.
But.
Yep. There's a big difference too between me as your peer and a teacher, and what I think I expect you to bring in. So yeah.
Oh, Nolan's Olay that he just spawned in.
Kill him, Olay.
Just hear Joe burning.
How low did that hit get you, Joe? No! Don't kill him!
So I never answered the whole "what's your favorite Easter story" one.
Oh, that's a good point. We kind of breezed past that. Go for it.
Typically, John is my favorite book for stuff, and I would probably say favorite Easter story. I don't know. John has a lot of cool stuff that comes after Easter, but that's not necessarily the Easter story. I think Luke is definitely the most complete of them. So my personal favorite's probably either Matthew or Luke. I think Matthew has a very cohesive and strong resurrection sequence, but honestly, this sounds bad. I haven't read the 4 Easter sequences and compared them to each other, at least not in a long time.
Yeah.
I've read them all before, more than once, but I haven't,
It's been a long time since we've compared.
It's been a while since hermeneutics, so...
Yeah. And I'm okay with that.
That'd actually be an interesting exercise. I might do that sometime this week. But
yeah, so that's going to be our Good Friday service. It's not comparing them, but it's mostly like a worship service.
Yeah.
But then in between each song, Brian and I are alternating with readings from the Easter story. Or from the Good Friday and Holy Week.
Nice.
My church isn't doing a Good Friday service this year.
No?
We're doing Maundy Thursday for our celebration of the Lord's Supper.
You're doing what Thursday?
Maundy Thursday.
Maundy Thursday. It's the Thursday of Holy Week. Essentially, it's just a celebration of the Last Supper for communion because that was on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun that I'm kind of one of the more formal church type people here, but I actually know less about stuff like that than you guys do.
Some of the more practical.
Yeah, I forget that there are actually days assigned to the Holy Week in some of the church calendars and stuff.
Yeah,
Usually
the whole week has stuff.
I'm sure the Anglican have a very structured thing for it. They're big on having holiday stuff planned out. But
sorry, I'm actively working on building my chests.
I need to read more widely with some of that stuff. I've been really trying to get back into reading more and doing more learning through reading. It's just hard to make the time for it.
Yeah.
Especially because I also have a unbridled love of history, and sometimes it's hard to pick a theology book over a history book, especially when I'm studying one in classes every day and I'm not studying the other in classes. So
yeah.
How do I make my allies stop following me?
Do they stop following you? Or do they just love you?
Would you rather be feared or loved?
I say I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. I just watched Goodbye Michael again last night.
Say Michael Scott, Machiavellian.
Brilliant mind.
Yes. I'm trying to remember. Obviously, the actual answer is it's better to be loved, but I think Machiavelli actually says it's better to be feared.
Really?
That's the first place that question is.
Machiavelli and Erasmus were both psychos, so.
Oh, Machiavelli was definitely borderline psychotic, but to his credit, his advice is very good practical advice for just cold-blooded running of a state. He's not going at it from a moral angle; he's going at it from a practical angle. I do think he's incorrect practically on that one, too. I think that having loyalty is better than having fear. And fear doesn't give you loyalty. Love gives you loyalty. But this is a completely further afield topic.
That's alright.
I also, again, I haven't actually read Machiavelli's The Prince.
Yeah,
so
I haven't either.
I want to be careful how much I say about it, having not read it. Unlike the tweet from earlier.
Oh gosh.
Let's learn lessons from that, Ben.
I guess Dodge would go under gardening.
I love my allies. They are my friends.
Heard the name Elevate Church and my hands went up.
Oh, I saw. Well, I heard.
I like elevation worship music.
I don't, but that's a separate topic.
I was gonna say Ben just doesn't like anything elevation.
Honestly, no. At this point, I'm sure they've got songs that I have happily sung in the past, but I still
Do you not
struggle
like them
with...
because of the church?
Yeah, I really struggle with whether or not I can, in good conscience, sing a worship song from a church whose teaching I don't agree with. But then you start saying that, but then you realize, oh wait, some of these hymns are old, like Anglican hymns or whatever, and I don't agree with everything they say, so I've got to be consistent in applying this.
So how do you feel about Death Was Arrested, Ben?
Yeah. It's an over...
Because I know for a fact there's something that has happened recently at that church that you would not approve of.
Oh, what happened there? I've never been a huge fan of that song. I'm just going to say it's not... I don't think that one has anything actively wrong in it. It's just... doesn't really do anything for me. It's not bad. I will say, theologically, I think that one's actually solid. I'm trying to run through the lyrics in my head right now, but I think everything it says is true and correct.
Oh, the allies are super helpful for building.
Is that
Because they're
one
building right-
Hillsong?
Nope, that's North Point. Andy Stanley.
North Point, Andy Stanley. I don't know as much about them. I know something happened with Andy Stanley recently. I forget what it was.
He hosted a conference that was affirming.
Oh wow, that's a pretty far. I don't think even Bethel and Hillsong have gone that far.
Yeah, that was big news.
That's a
Oh,
big
okay,
deal.
can somebody sleep?
I'm almost to my bedroom. I can sleep.
No.
Yeah, I didn't realize how high. I'm very high up on a tower and fending off attacks.
Should I just stay up and make him stay there the rest of the stream, guys?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
If I get knocked off this building, I will die.
Jacob, where are you?
I'm in my basement.
Oh, okay. Here, I'll bring your book over real
Oh,
quick.
thanks.
Yeah. But again, I also am biased because I have come to appreciate hymns more as a form of worship music, and that just damages my opinion even more on some of the other stuff because as art, I like them less sometimes. Jacob, here's your book.
Thank you.
And that's not to say I don't like any new stuff. I don't like a lot of new stuff, specifically in a church setting. I think there's a higher bar for what you can sing as corporate worship based off what it's okay to listen to on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of songs are perfectly fine Christian songs for you to listen to. They're not very beneficial in my mind to a congregation. And that's actually not even just on a theology or does the song actually say anything worth saying level. There's a technical level to that too, where the congregation is supposed to be singing together, and if a song has vocals that only trained vocalists can hit, then you're just basically showing off as a member of the worship team, and the congregation can't actually participate in that song.
I agree with that.
I don't always recognize that as much because I don't know enough about singing to recognize when it's me being bad and when the song just doesn't have a great way. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what that part of music that falls under. I'm musically ignorant, but I've noticed with a few songs that it's like, oh, I realize what this is supposed to sound like, but I am not capable of hitting this.
Yeah. Which is a pretty common problem with a lot of various churches.
I think that's a bit of mission drift just behind songwriting,
Yeah.
where the songs are viewed more like secular music, and the goal is to make them sound the best possible or whatever, which has a place, not for congregation worship.
Yeah. And there's definitely a place for it.
Let me just disclaimer, I realize fully there are hymns that do that too. There are hymns that they will come up and okay, this is the one so that all the old ladies in church can show off how good they are at singing.
Mm-hmm.
No one else can hit these high notes. So it's not a contemporary only problem.
Mm-hmm.
However, I notice it more in contemporary.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex said he agrees with Ben. Hymns are S tier. He's found that a lot of more modern worship songs all kind of sound the same, and they just aren't really made for congregations. And I think that's also is where we require an important distinction between, are these songs worship songs or are they contemporary Christian for casual listening?
Yes. And I think that doesn't get talked about enough.
No.
Also, funnily, one of the first places I was really exposed to hymns in a church setting was Alex's church, so that's just a fun connection. But, yeah, I'm surprised actually at how rare it is to hear. I don't know that anyone outside of our group that I have heard have talked about like radio Christian songs versus worship Christian songs.
Yeah, because there's a very large difference.
There is a difference.
I'm gonna actually kind of cut you off there, Ben. Unfortunately, as we have gone after 9 o'clock.
I love Rich Mullins. Some of his songs fall into that category, though. Okay, continue.
But I think that's where we're going to end the stream.
We can get more to worship in another podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's save the worship discussion for
another
another night.
That won't be a heated conversation at all.
Not at all. Reckless love. Anyways, thank you all for joining, and we will see you all another time. Goodbye.
Good night.